Good Thursday morning. I'm WBTV First Alert meteorologist Eric Garlick. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the First Alert. So we're going to talk a little bit about the tropics. Hurricane Beryl, of course, being a record-setting hurricane, and we're off to a really quick start for the hurricane season of 2024. We're also going to talk about the potential for the end of the heat wave coming our way. Now, not everybody going to see the break in the heat wave across the country, but we'll talk a little bit about that and why we are seeing an increase in humidity and rain and thunderstorm chances as we head into the weekend. So we are going to continue to watch all of this and keep a close eye on it, and of course bring you the first alert as we go through the next couple of days as this system, Hurricane Beryl, continues to move into the tropics. So let's talk about it here. We'll jump into it. Our first alert topic today is going to be Hurricane Beryl and the heat and humidity that we are seeing. So currently, as of 8:07 on this Thursday morning, July 4th, Hurricane Beryl is a Category 3, a major hurricane still, winds at 120 miles per hour and going to continue to move off to the west, producing some very strong winds, very heavy rainfall as well. This is southwest of the Cayman Islands and going to continue to move off to the west as it heads toward the Yucatan Peninsula. Now notice the number 1 right before the Yucatan Peninsula there. That is a Hurricane Category 1. So expecting this to weaken a little bit. What's going to happen is this is going to encounter some upper level shear and some drier air, not really great conducive hurricane development environment, and that's why we're going to see it actually weaken as it moves through the Yucatan Peninsula. Now, as we head through the weekend and into next week, you can see this re-strengthening after it downgrades into probably a tropical storm across the Bay Campeche and back up toward Mexico and U.S. border, expecting some re-intensification into a Category 1 before making landfall somewhere between Mexico and South Texas. And this is going to continue to produce quite a bit of rainfall and some pretty strong winds with it as well. Big area of high pressure in charge, going to keep it off to the west of Louisiana, Florida, and the southeastern U.S. So not really seeing any impacts in the southeast and in our area in particular from Hurricane Beryl as it continues to move off to the west. Now, remember last week we were keeping a close eye on the tropics, and we had a couple different areas that we were watching. So we did have Tropical Storm Chris develop right before that made landfall in Mexico, but Beryl is still a Category 3 storm, so we're still watching that. And then Invest 96L had an 80% chance of development in the same area that Beryl did, but the latest from the National Hurricane Center only has us at a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. So probably just more of a tropical wave, bringing some strong thunderstorms and some strong winds, unfortunately, into areas like Jamaica and the Windward Islands that had Hurricane Beryl moved through just a couple of days ago. So that'll continue to move off to the west and eventually, kind of taking the same exact path as Beryl, but not expected to become a storm. So current surface temperatures for the Gulf in the mid 80s as you head down toward Jamaica into the Windward Islands, Barbados. Those water temperatures still very high and almost record setting for this time of year to see these temperatures this warm, and that again helps provide fuel for hurricanes. Now, that's not the only thing that helps with hurricane development. You need lack of shear and a bunch of other ingredients. Kind of the same thing with severe weather. You need all the ingredients in place for things to become active and continue to strengthen and produce these major storms. And that's what happened with Beryl. And now we're looking at kind of a change of environment a little bit. So let's talk about our forecast here in the Piedmont, looking at those temperatures in the mid-90s for today. Can't rule out a stray thunderstorm or two. Heat and humidity going to be the big factor with this as we move into the afternoon and really over the next couple of days. Best chances for some scattered thunderstorms developing, foothills and into the mountains. Sandhills checking in at 97 degrees. So we're at 14 90-degree days. We had one in July yesterday. The first 2 days actually below average, topping out in the mid to upper 80s. So why is this all happening? We got a surface high pressure system that is off the East Coast, and that is helping bring in a southeast and becoming a southwesterly wind over the next 12 to 24 hours. And that's ushering in all of the moisture from the Gulf, from the Atlantic. And that is why we're seeing our humidity levels really shoot up and why those heat index values are climbing into the triple digits. Now up ahead, overhead, I should say, we do have a big area of high pressure. And this is important. Why? Because typically when we have a high pressure system, it's kind of like a dome, and we see sinking air associated with a high pressure system. So you get the air to sink down from that area of high pressure. It heats up as it drops because of compressional heating, and it helps keep the skies clear and prevent some cloud cover from forming. So those are a couple factors why this heat dome is so important and why it's helping our temperatures climb up into the upper 90s. So as I mentioned, that influence from that southeast and southwesterly wind that we're going to be battling over the next couple of days. Of course, the humidity in the dew point levels rising. Here's what dew points are going to feel like as we head into 9:30 this evening, still in the low 70s. So triple digit heat index value is going to be likely. Look what happens as we head toward tomorrow. See how that kind of moved in from the southwest? We're going to see those winds shifting a little bit. We're going to tap into that Gulf moisture, and that is going to help those humidity levels climb and those dew points climb into the mid 70s. Now, as we head towards Saturday evening, a little bit of a drop, and you can see those orange shades across portions of Tennessee and Kentucky. We're going to see a cold front working our way, and that is going to impact the forecast on Saturday quite a bit. If the cold front can get through before we get into peak heating, that's going to lower our chances for some strong to severe storms on Saturday. If it doesn't, and we do get the humidity to linger during that heat of the day, looking at more fuel for those thunderstorms to fire up as we head into Saturday. Regardless, going to be hot and humid. Take a look at these feel like temperatures. For today, 103, 104 for tomorrow, which is why we have that first alert. I think we could see a heat advisory issued by the National Weather Service based on current data for Friday. Again, that's why that first alert is issued. 100 degrees for that feel like temp on Saturday. And as I mentioned, that cold front coming through, not necessarily going to cool things off, but it will make it not as hot. 91 on Sunday with lower humidity levels as well, with those feel like temperatures running in the mid 90s as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So over the next 7 days, another good thing about this pattern we're setting up in is there's going to be rain and thunderstorm chances every day. They are going to be low in nature, 40 to 60% chance as we head through the weekend and into next week. Not a for sure thing we're going to see rain every day, but at least you'll have the chance of seeing rain pretty much every day as we head through the next 7 days. So here's a look at those high temperatures that we've had. As I mentioned, 91 yesterday, but the first 2 days of the month below average in the upper 80s. We do need rain, and we need it in a big way. Really seeing that drought set up with only about 0.4 of an inch coming on June 30th, and before that, 3/4 of an inch for the June 4th date. Now, rainfall for the month of July, we're about 0.3 behind average. Of course, we're only the 4th day in. And for the year, we had a big surplus going into the month of June, but the dry conditions really eating into that surplus, and that's why we're seeing the drought monitor creep back up. So here's a look at the drought monitor from last week. You can see dry and moderate conditions setting up. As we go through the week, though, you can see dry, moderate, and even severe drought starting to creep up into the Carolinas, which is why we need rain in a really, really bad way, hurting the farmers, hurting a lot of people, these dry conditions. So it's going to be something that we definitely need. So we'll continue to see the drought conditions worsen until we get some pretty good rains across the area as a whole. These pop-up thunderstorms don't really help the drought because it's not getting all of those areas, and of course we'll keep you up to date on that. But the big story is going to continue to be Hurricane Beryl and the record-precedenting storm that is, and then the heat and humidity going to continue as well. So this is something we're going to continue to watch as we move through the next couple of days before we really get some better rain chances in here and a little bit of a break in the humidity. For WBTV, I'm First Alert meteorologist Eric Garlick. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the First Alert.